Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 48 of Warhammer Imperium magazine, the new ruin we got with this issue, and then learning about the Acts of Faith rules for the Adepta Sororitas. Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're bringing you issue 48 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. This issue came with the fourth and final ruined building for our terrain collection. And if you'd like to see that on our battle mat, you can skip ahead to the battle report if you'd like to, using the timecode in the description or the chapter bars. But first up, we'll just have a look through the issue. So we've got a Battle Sisters mission roster. So a mission is a sort of small task force of Battle Sisters, and here it allows you to name the mission of sisters that we will get with this collection, and there's a name generator for that if you want to use that. And over the page you can name all the individual units, and you can actually see all the units we will be getting eventually here. So we've got the Canoness, Battle Sisters, Seraphim and Repentia Superior, and then the Sisters Repentia, the Archiflagellants and the Penitent Engine. Then we learned about the Dark Angels chapter of Space Marines, originally the first of the Space Marine legions to be created, with a long and glorious history, but they hide a sort of secret shame because part of their chapter during the Horus Heresy turned from the Emperor's Light led by their Primarch Lionel Johnson's second-in-command, called Luther, who mostly fled in the aftermath of the Horus Heresy, and they've been trying to hunt them down ever since. But this isn't public knowledge, to the point where even the Battle Brothers within the chapter aren't told the whole truth of the matter. There's a bit more about the Fallen here, and the most enigmatic of their number, a warrior called Cypher. And then some formations unique to the Dark Angels chapter, the Raven Wing, which is entirely mounted on bikes or land speeders, which has the purpose of hunting down the Fallen, although most of its warriors don't even know that. And the Death Wing, clad in bone white armour, whose job it is to actually capture the Fallen if any sight of them is confirmed. Then we learn about the Space Marines Apothecarion, the division responsible for the gene seed and physical health of the Battle Brothers, staffed by apothecaries who are doctors and battlefield medics, but their most important role is the collection of gene seed of fallen Battle Brothers and maintaining the stocks of gene seed to make the next generation of the Space Marines. And there's a bit more here about some of their war gear that they carry with them into battle. Then we learn about the Imperial Creed, the official state religion of the Imperium, which venerates the Emperor as the god of mankind, and he's representative, the Ecclesiarch, the head of the Imperial Church, called the Ecclesiarchy, and below him he has a hierarchy of cardinals, preachers. It's officially called the Adeptus Ministorum, and it also mentions here the Adepta Sororitas, which is the military wing of the Ecclesiarchy. And then a bit more about the penitent forces of the Ministorum. The Imperium is full of many criminals and heretics, but if they have any slight chance of redemption, they will be put to use by being turned into an Archiflagellant, or sometimes the worst will be put into a machine called a Penitent Engine, essentially a walking machine armed with deadly weaponry that will throw itself into battle. There's a bit more about that here. We learnt about the Archiflagellants and Sisters Repentia in the previous issue. There's also such a thing as a mortifier, which is reserved for Sisters Repentia who have fled from battle. They're placed in a similar machine to attempt to purify their sins against the Emperor. Then the build guide for the ruin is exactly the same with all the other ruins we've had, so there should be nothing new here. And similarly painting it the same way as the other ones. So after a white base coat and some dry brushes and some washes, it should look something like that to match the rest of them. But that's it for the contents of this issue. I'll hand you over to Mike now, where we're going to be learning some new rules for the Battle Sisters, and then heading into our game.
So first up we have some new rules to learn. These are Acts of Faith for the Adepta Sororitas. So this represents the Battle Sisters' sheer faith in the Emperor, which manifests as a sort of divine intervention kind of thing. Basically once per phase, one unit from your army with the Acts of Faith ability, so that's all of the models we have apart from the Archiflagellant so far. They can perform one act of faith, and to do so you use miracle dice. And you gain the miracle dice at the start of each battle round or at the end of a phase in which any of the following conditions are met, you gain a miracle dice. So if any Adepta Sororitas units from your army destroy one or more enemy units, or any Adepta Sororitas character units from your army are destroyed, and also the Sisters Repentia have their martyrdom ability, which means if they're destroyed you get a miracle dice there as well. So each time you gain a miracle dice you roll a d6, and then that number you roll is the value of the miracle dice, and you keep it to the side as part of your miracle dice pool. It does note here that you need your entire army to have the Adepta Sororitas keyword, other than the Cult Imperialis, Agent of the Imperium or unaligned keywords. The Archiflagellant has the Cult Imperialis keyword, but also since we're using the initiate missions, that's not going to matter anyway. We'll always get miracle dice even if there are Space Marines or a Mechanicus in these games. To actually perform an act of faith, you can see there's a list of dice rolls you can use when doing an act of faith. So an advanced roll, a charge roll, a hit roll, a wound roll, a saving throw, a damage roll, or a morale test. When you make one of those rolls, you can choose to substitute any number of dice for a miracle dice instead. So if you want to guarantee a hit, rather than rolling to hit, you just use a dice from a miracle pool, let's say a 6, and automatically hit. And there are some quirks, like a miracle dice is not a modifier or doesn't count as a modified dice either. So any abilities that occur on an unmodified 1, such as morale test, or an unmodified 6 such as the Passion Sacred Rite, you can still benefit from those. And miracle dice cannot be re-rolled, so if you use a single miracle dice as part of a charge roll and then you end up re-rolling it, you only roll the unsubstituted dice rather than both. So you can see in this example the Sisters Repentia are performing an act of faith, and they're substituting both of their dice for their charge roll, using the dice from the miracle dice pool to get an 11-inch charge. And there's a little tips there about keeping track, either using dice and keeping them separate, or writing it down on scrap paper to keep track of how many you have. And we can get into the background for today's mission. So the Chronomancer is leading a small group of Necrons to try and disable and damage the Hive's plasma networks, and hopefully doing so will cause enough destruction and chaos that the flayed ones will be lured out of their little extra-dimensional pocket. And obviously the Canoness is leading as many sisters as she can find to secure the area and stop that from happening. So we have today's mission, Plasma Sabotage. Once again, it should be an initiate mission. We'll certainly treat it as one. We have the battlefield there. You have the map from issue 38 with the terrain set out. For our forces, the Necrons of the Chronomancer, the Rule Warden, 3 warriors and 3 flayed ones, whereas the Battle Sisters help the Canoness, the 3 regular Battle Sisters, the 2 Seraphim, the Archoflagellant and the Repentia. And we have an objective in the centre of the battlefield, which is part of the actual objective of the game, where at the end of each player's turn, the player whose turn it is scores a victory point for controlling the objective. And the game will last for 5 battle rounds. At the end of the battle, the player with the most victory points is victorious. So we'll set the board up and get straight into it. So we have the board set up there, and we've got the Necrons on the left and the Sisters on the right. So for my deployment, 3 inches on, I've got the Seraphim in reserve, using their Sky Strike, and then I have the 3 Battle Sisters with the Archoflagellant next to them, and the Repentia and the Canoness tucked in behind. And for my Sacred Rite, I'm going to choose the Passion again. Hopefully we can get some use out of my melee units this game.
And then my Necrons are also deployed behind a ruin, so hopefully we don't get shot immediately. We've got the 3 warriors out front, the 2 characters behind, and the flayed ones are in their pocket dimension to arrive via dimensional translocation later in the game.
So rolling off to see who chooses who gets to go first. So the Necrons win the roll-off.
And I'm going to choose to go first.
Okay, so we're into Necrons turn 1. Alright, at the start of the battle round I get a miracle dice, and I use these translucent red dice. So I've got a 5.
So in my command phase, the Chronomancer will put the invulnerable save from the Chronomatron on the Necron warriors, not that it's likely to make a great deal of difference, and then because I'm not going to be able to see anything to shoot, everyone ran and tucked into the building. And then in the reinforcement step of movement phase, we'll bring down the flayed ones so that they're on the objective. So there won't be any shooting obviously, but at the end of my turn I'll score a victory point for controlling the objective, because as far as we can tell you can score it in the first battle round.
In my command phase, the Canoness is going to put the Rod of Command on herself, I think, because everyone's going to be near her anyway. And then the Archoflagellant and the Repentia and the Canoness are going to move into the building, huddling together, so if the Necrons want to charge, hopefully we'll bring multiple models in. The 3 Sisters have moved around the building so they can see the flayed ones in the middle. And in the reinforcement step, I bring in the Seraphim on top of the building there, so they can shoot at the flayed ones as well. So in my shooting phase, you can just see one of the Sisters poking around the building there, but they can all see that flayed one over here. So I'm going to shoot them first, because the Seraphim are all range of all of the flayed ones. So we have 3 shots with bolt guns, hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s. Alright, 2 2s and a 1, we're off to a good start. Re-roll the 1, into a 2, so they all miss. And the Seraphim will shoot at the flayed ones as well. We've got 4 shots on 3s, re-rolling 1s. Re-roll that 1, into a 2, so we've got 3 hits. Wounded on a 4, 2 wounds.
2 4+ saves. Made one, failed one. That's the end of their shooting, so we'll try and reanimate it. We do on a 6. So we'll take this one away, and then it will reanimate just a bit further back.
Not going to declare any charges, so we're on to Necrons turn 2. New battle round, so I get another miracle dice. Another 5.
In the command phase, I put the Chronomatron on the flayed ones to give them a 5+ invulnerable save, but also allowing them to reroll charge rolls, which is the other effect of that. And then in the movement phase, the flayed ones have just moved up, the warriors have moved out of the building, and the 2 characters have followed them. Then we'll move on to the shooting phase. We'll start with the Chronomancer actually, because he will only be able to see a Seraphim, so we'll shoot them. 1 shot hitting on a 3. That's a hit. Wounds on 3. No. And then the warriors will shoot with the Seraphim as well. 6 shots hitting on 3s. 4 hits. Wounding on 3s. 3 wounds.
think I'll use both my miracle dice to auto-pass and then roll a single 3+, which I passed as well.
And roll ordinary shoot at them as well. 4 shots on 3s, getting 3 hits. Wounds on 3s, 1.
5+ invulnerable save, made it.
And then we're on to the charge phase, and the flayed ones are going to declare a charge on the Archoflagellant and the Seraphim, just those models. So their charge roll, which I can re-roll if I need to. I won't need to. They will finish their charge like that. That does get them within an inch of both the Archoflagellant and within an inch horizontally and 5 inches vertically off the Seraphim. That's the end of the charge phase, so the Canoness may well be able to heroically intervene now.
Yeah, she is within 3 of the flayed one in the front, so she will. Yeah, the Canoness will heroically intervene. She goes through the wall and ends up at the corner of the building, and she is just within an inch. Unfortunately, the building doesn't really line up with the outline, but that's as neat as we could get it. And the Archoflagellant in the building and the Seraphim on top are also going to set to defend as well. But the flayed ones will get to go first.
So the flayed ones have piled in. This one here is the one that was closest to the wall, so it came in through the wall. We're getting into engagement range of the Repentia, obviously, who we can't attack because we didn't charge. And then the one at the back has moved a little bit. But this means the Canoness is not within an inch anymore, so she won't be able to be picked to fight. And then we're going to put all the attacks on the Archoflagellant because it is really dangerous. And this one actually has the Endurant implants as well, so it's got even more attacks. The flayed ones have 9 attacks, hitting on 3s, 6s score an additional hit, not auto wound like we said in the previous game. So we've got 4 misses, but 2 additional hits, so we end up with 7 hits in total. Wounding on 4s, because it's toughness 4, so 3 wounds with an AP of -1.
5+ chance to ignore damage. Oh, he made 2, he lives, blimey. So that's my pick. I'm going to pick the Archoflagellant to go first. Hopefully he won't kill all of them, so one of the sisters can finish off the flayed ones, and I'll get miracle dice. But he has 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, getting 4. Yeah, he doesn't get the extra hits for 6s or re-rolling 1s because he's not a battle sister.
Slight mistake here. It should actually have been able to re-roll those misses because of the Zealot rule. Basically, we forgot that it applies when the unit is charged as well as when it performs a charge. So we'll try not to make that mistake in the future.
He's strength 5 thanks to his Endurant implant, so these wound on 3s. That's 3 wounds.
AP of -1, so 5+ saves either way. Or made 1, so 2 dice, so we will get a chance to reanimate them. 1 does come back. So what I've done is taken the 2 out of the building and then reanimated out of the way so that the Repentia is no longer within an inch and therefore is no longer an eligible unit to fight.
I still have the Seraphim though, so they have 2 attacks each. These are hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, and 6s are an additional hit. 1 miss, but I got a 6, so that's 4 hits. These wound on 5s. Not getting any. That's it for combat, also showing that the Archoflagellant has piled in a tiny bit, get closer to the wall. But there's not going to be any morale tests needing to be made. That's going to be the end of the Necron turn, but they still hold the objective and get a victory point. So in my command phase, the Canoness is going to use her Rod of Command on herself. So she can re-roll 1s. She's going to move out. Battle Sisters are coming with her, and the Repentias are moving out of the building. But the Archoflagellant and the Seraphim are going to stay in melee. Then we'll be on to the shooting phase, where I think I will start with the 3 Battle Sisters, who are going to fire their bolt guns at the Necron warriors. So we've got 6 shots hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s. That's 4 hits. Wounding on 4s, getting 2.
We do have cover from this angle, so I'll take 3+ saves. Made both.
Next up, the Canoness is going to fire her plasma pistol, not supercharging, at the warriors as well. She has 1 shot hitting on a 2, re-rolling 1s. She hits. It wounds on a 3. It doesn't. Finally, we've got the Seraphim, who are going to shoot their pistols at the flayed ones. 4 shots on 3s, re-rolling 1s. They all hit. Wounding on 4s. 1 wound.
4+ save. Oh, I made it.
And the charge phase, the Canoness will go first, where she's going to charge just the warriors. She fails her charge with a double 1. So the Repentia is going to have a go. She's going to go for just the warriors as well. She gets in with a 7. That should be enough. Now I'm going to send in the Battle Sisters as well, just to get more models on the objective. So they're going to charge just the warriors. They get a 5. That's not going to be enough. Right, it's the end of the charge phase.
So the Chronomancer is going to heroically intervene.
I will pick the Repentia to go first, because she charged. She'll go for the warriors. She has 2 attacks hitting on 4s, but re-rolling 1s. Oh, I rolled off a 6, so that's 2 hits. Strength 6, so these wound on 3s. They both wound, save you -3.
So no save on warriors, and they don't have the invulnerable save on them.
Yeah, but do they reanimate?
No. So we'll lose these 2.
But she's going to consolidate around, keep them engaged. But then the Necrons get to pick.
And I'll pick the flayed ones. And they'll just pile in a bit, so they're both in range of the Archiflagellant. 6 attacks hitting on 3s. 6s, no 6s, so just 3 hits. Wounding on 4s. Oh, 1.
Gnaws it on a 5, it's too tense. No, he's gone. No, he did his job. Flayed ones aren't going to consolidate, so I've only got the Seraphim to go, so they'll fight back. 4 attacks hitting on 3s. They're no re-rolling because they're out of range of the Canoness, but 6s are an additional hit. 3 hits. Wounding on 5s, getting 2.
2 4+ saves. I'll leave it. And then it's just my units to fight, so we'll do the Chronomancer first. 1 attack with his staff, hits on a 3. Missed, and then 3 attacks with his tendrils hitting on 3s. They all hit. They're strength 4, so winning on 3s. We've got 2 wounds with no AP.
6+ invulnerable. Nope. 5+ to ignore damage. Oh, ignored 1, but she goes down. And I gain a miracle dice because they died, so I got a 2 there.
And he will consolidate just to get within range of the objective. Means I definitely hold it at the end of the Battle Sister's turn.
Yep, but that'll be the end of the turn and the start of a new battle round. New miracle dice, getting a 1. And we head into Necron's turn 3.
So this turn we'll put the Chronomatron save on the warrior, and then they're just going to move around those 3 models a little bit. So we've got a few more models on the objective. And move to the shooting phase, where we'll do the Chronomancer shooting at the Canoness. 1 shot, which hits on a 3. Does wounds on a 2. That's a wound.
4+ invulnerable save. Failed.
A D3 plus 3 damage, so anything but a 1 or a 2 will kill her. Yeah, 6 damage.
I get a miracle dice because a character died, so it's a 6.
Then the warrior will shoot at the Battle Sisters. 2 shots on 3s, they hit. They wound on 3s, that's a 1 wound.
4+ save. Made it.
And the Royal Warden hits 3 times. Wounds twice.
Yeah, I'll substitute the 6 for one of them, and then there's a 5+, which I made.
And I won't charge anything, we'll just go straight to the fight phase where the Seraphim get to go first.
4 attacks on 3s, 6s are an extra hit. Ooh, 2 extra hits, so we got 5 hits. Wounding on 5s, getting 1.
4+, made it. And then the flayed ones get to hit back. So 6 attacks on 3s. We've got 2 misses, but they come back because I've got 2 6s for extra hits. And wounding on 3s. Only 2.
4+. Failed both, so the Seraphim both dead as well.
And then I suppose, it's still going to be relevant, we'll just consolidate into the Battle Sisters.
Yeah, I'm not going to bother doing the Battle Sisters attacks. Actually, I will do the Battle Sisters attacks. You can see how many I can take down. 3 attacks from the Sisters on 4s. They all miss, so there you go. At the end of the turn, the Necrons gain a victory point, go up to 3. I don't imagine those Sisters are going to last any longer, but it doesn't matter because I can't possibly win at this point. So that'll be a Necron victory, and we'll recap that game for you now. So that was the game for issue 48 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How did you think that went?
Well, obviously it did go pretty well from me, but I feel like it could have gone completely different. You rolled a double 1 for your Canoness, you charge. I made quite a lot of save rolls.
I honestly just think it was the charge that made it steal the deal.
Yeah, I think you had a good chance of taking out all of those Necron warriors in one go and then bogging down my characters.
At the very least, the Royal Warden. Then you would have had fewer models on the objective.
Yeah. I was still 2 victory points ahead, so you would have still had to take and hold the objective for the rest of the game, but you could have probably done that. Difficult to know. I think going first was quite important because it meant I was able to just take the objective in the first turn. If you'd been able to do the equivalent, then I would have had to remove your models from the objective instead, which would have been a different story probably.
Perhaps it would have been worth only saving one of the Seraphim and then saving one for the Canoness's charge. But considering how few models we have and how fragile mine are, I think keeping them alive is definitely worth the use of a miracle dice. And I also forgot that the Zealot rule that the Archiflagellant and the Repenti Hub also applies when they are charged.
Yes, unfortunately it was a risk charging those flayed ones into all of those models, but through some reanimation shenanigans and stuff, I managed to keep them alive probably longer than they should have survived, to be honest.
Yeah, that's really the issue. If basically any of your models reanimate, it's hard enough for me to do wounds, seeing as all of it's on 4s and 5s, so if any of them reanimate, you have to do it again.
Yeah, I suppose it is actually very powerful in small games when you've only got a few models, because a whole model coming back is a real nuisance.
I don't know, maybe I need to focus one unit down, but I think this is the last time we play with these tiny forces, so hopefully the Sisters will be able to make a bit of showing in upcoming games.
And the Acts of Faith, I think, should help with that as well.
Really useful abilities. It is a nice, flavourful rule.
When you have more Sisters units as well, there's a higher chance that they will be able to wipe things out. So in a bigger game, you will get more miracle dice just because you're killing more stuff, and you might have more characters who might die as well. The more miracle dice you have, the more options you have with what those numbers are as well. So
I guess it is kind of propping up the fact that the Sisters aren't necessarily as powerful as the Necrons or the Space Marines, but there will be situations where Sisters will survive things that Space Marines wouldn't, for instance. happens. Basically, all the Sisters of stuff have an invulnerable save, means if you have a 6 on a miracle dice, that's always going to be a pass because you always get to make a save. Whereas a lot of Space Marine stuff don't have invulnerable saves, so they would die.
It's good for things like 50-50 scenarios as well, where, for example, if you had a 4 and that Canoness had to make an invulnerable save against the big staff, a 4 is good enough.
I think a 2 is probably the worst, because unless you have a character who hits on a 2. I mean, even a 1 is useful for automatically passing a morale test.
Yes, generally the higher the better, but 1s are useful for that specific purpose. So, I mean, even a 3 can be useful if you have a relatively short charge to make and you want to sort of all but guarantee it.
I mean, really, I think in a larger game you'd save it for characters and special weapons. You probably wouldn't use it to keep a regular Battle Sister or a single Seraphim alive, that sort of thing. This is another reason why you take Repentia over Arcoflagellants if you're only going to pick one. Repentia would benefit from Miracle Dice, and they get you some as well, whereas Arcoflagellants don't. And we got another ruin. I think that does amount to a full set of the ruins. Can you even buy these separately, or are they part of another set? I can't remember exactly how you get them.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're available separately anymore. I think you can only get them as part of like the Command Edition box set or whatever, and there's a terrain expansion set for it as well, I think.
Yeah, I think we will fairly soon coming up have a game using all 4 of them, and then it's a pretty decent cityscape. Definitely a good amount of cover for 2 boards. Well, otherwise I don't think there's too much more to say about this game or this issue. So as always, if you like this content, do leave a like and subscribe. Leave any comments. If you played this game, how did you get on? We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.